please.
Okay, it looks like I
There we
got
go.
it.
All right, we're all set.
Excellent. Well done, both of you. Thank you. Okay, am I okay then to turn it over to President Sloan and call us in the session?
If you'd like, yes.
Okay, all right, President Sloan, it's all yours. Let's get this meeting
Good
started.
morning. Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the NIAA Special Board of Control meeting today, January 8th, 2024. At this time, I'm going to ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, Mr. Nelson, would you please take roll?
Yes, President Sloan. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us here today. President Sloan,
Here.
Vice President Stallworth,
Here.
Member Cavazos,
Here.
Member Gearzon, Member Hyde,
Here.
Member Marini,
Here.
Member McNaught,
Here.
Member McParland,
Here.
Member Paulson.
Present.
Thank you. Member Riddle.
Present.
Thank you. Member Sorensen.
Here.
Thank you. Member Woodley. All right, Liaison Fecht. Liaison Vic. See him on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Good. Liaison Fitzsimons. Liaison Odegaard.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason.
Liaison Habig.
Here.
Liaison Levitt. Liaison Rivera. Liaison Henneman.
Here.
Liaison Townsend.
Here.
Liaison Ampium.
Here.
And Liaison Paredes. These are all three absent. Liaison Hirsch. And Liaison Carter. Staff-wise, Donnie Nelson is here. Legal Counsel Anderson.
Here.
Associate Director Biesmeyer. Thank you. I heard you, Jay. Assistant Director Davis.
Here.
Assistant Director Lutz.
Here.
And Administrative Tia Wonder is in the air, but she is listening. She has texted me and confirmed her attendance. Okay, roll call complete. Thank you, President Sloan.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. At this time, in regards to number 4 announcements, at this time, we have no announcements. So we will now proceed to public comment. The time provided an opportunity for citizens to address the board about any matter not on the agenda. Items raised during the portion of the agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon until notice procedures of the open meeting law has been complied with. Should a member of the public wish to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, it is asked that the person please complete a public comment card and submit to the president prior to the opening of this item. A limit of 3 minutes per person and/or 5 minutes for the spokesperson of a particular group may be imposed. It is requested that comments be directed to the board as a whole. Comments that are determined to be irrelevant, repetitious, offensive, inflammatory, willfully disruptive, or deemed to be personal attacks will not be permitted. There is no one in the presence of Mr. Anderson and myself for public comment. Is there anyone in the NIAA office for public comment or anywhere else?
Yes, there is, President Sloan. We have one public comment in our office. We'll have our guest introduce herself, and please come up to our podium here. We'll have 3 minutes for public comment. President Sloan, I'll keep the clock on my watch right here since it is in our office. And Mr. Stallworth and I will step away just so the Zoom or the owl doesn't pick us up and step up public comment. So if you would, for the name, identify name and school for the record, and 3 minutes. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Hovanik, and I am head of school at Sage Ridge School. I would like to just talk a little bit about understanding the policy in terms of international students And we understand and appreciate the NIAA's efforts to eliminate recruiting, particularly internationally. And so Sage Ridge does have a lot of students from foreign countries. We have students from China, we have students from Vietnam, we have students from Brazil. So at this particular time, we have I-20 students, and we are an I-20 school. We're the only school in Northern Nevada that does take I-20s at this particular time. And so we are allowed to educate and to accept foreign students. Over the years, we have graduated many I-20 students or the F1 students. We would like to, my presence today is to talk about, we'd like to explore the NIAA opportunity to allow for I-20 students the privilege and opportunity to participate in interscholastic sports in a way that does not disrupt or nullify the NIAA's ability to prevent recruiting athletes for interscholastic competition. As we all know, athletes are essential to a well-rounded education. At Sage Ridge, the social aspects of athletics is very important. So we ask you just for the opportunity to work with you to see if there's a way to accomplish this goal. To this end, we ask today for an audience, maybe in the form of a workshop, to see if it's allowing what kinds of things would allow us to permit international students the opportunity to participate in sports. We are a small school and we do not have junior varsity sports. So today, our effort is just to ask for an audience so that we can commence dialogue and to present to the NIAA some of our ideas, and in the form of a workshop or in form of a discussion, not presently at this meeting, but at some other time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, again, this is Donnie Nelson, the staff, just to finish up on public comments, to reiterate, President Sloan, no other written correspondences to you, correct?
That is
Board President? Okay, Vice President Stallworth, no other written correspondences to you for this meeting?
No other.
Okay, staff-wise, Ms. Lotz, Mr. Davis, again, I know Ms. Wonders communicated with me, no public comments to her, but staff-wise, anybody else public comments written to be read into the record today?
I have none, Mr. Nelson, but please be advised that Mr. Fitzsimons has joined us now for the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimons, welcome. Put you on the attendee list. Okay, with that said, President Sloan, then I believe we have cleared public comment number 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will proceed to number 6, the approval of the agenda for the January 8th, 2024 NIAA Special Board of Control meeting for possible action. We need a motion, please, and a second.
This is Wade Polson, Region 3. I move to approve the agenda for January 8th, 2024 NIAA Special Board meeting.
Appreciate that. We have a first. Do we have a second?
Kevin McPartland, I'll second.
Thank you very much. Do we have any further questions or discussions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. We will now go to agenda item number 7, Executive Director Search for Discussion Possible Action, where myself and Paul Anderson will lead the board to discussion addressing topics pertaining to, among other things, the opening of the Executive Director position, the date of the announcement, the opening of the position, the scope of the search to the position, the credentials applicants must possess, and timeline and procedures to follow. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Anderson.
All right. Thank you, President Sloan. So as everybody is aware, Mr. Nelson announced his decision to resign from the board at the conclusion of this school year. So once again, we're in a search for an executive director. Because of that, after that announcement was made, Ms. Sloan, as president, got together with myself as well as Vice President Stallworth And we had a couple of meetings, actually three, one on December 1, one on December 13th, and then another one on December 29th, kind of to discuss the process and to make the determination, first of all, to have this special board meeting prior to our upcoming winter board meeting, so that we can kind of get ahead of the curve here. So the biggest thing that we need to do today, and it should have been attached to your agenda, is approve our timeline and procedures for moving forward with the executive director search. And I will get into that in a minute. But basically, the discussions that we have had, and this is certainly open to further discussion here, and then ultimately, I think we also have an agenda item for the upcoming board meeting, if any additional decisions need to be made with respect to the search. But what we need to decide is, one, the scope of the search, and last time we did this, which was back in 2022, what we did is we had a search that involved, it was primarily done within state. And we made a decision, the search committee would look at the applicants that were from the state of Nevada and determine if we had qualified applicants at that point in time that we wanted to interview. If not, we had a process set up to open up the application process on a nationwide basis. That committee ultimately determined that we had sufficient, we had good candidates from within the state, and so there was no national search. Here, and again, this is subject to some discussion if anyone feels like we ought to have that, but our belief is to open up this search on a nationwide basis. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, again, subject to your approval as a board. Also, we're, as far as formally announcing the opening and that sort of thing, if you go to your timeline, you'll see what we've decided or looked at in terms of a date for the formal announcement would be 2 weeks from today, January 22nd. We would announce the opening. If it is on a national basis, what we'll do is make contact with the National Federation of High Schools and have their assistance in getting this information or the information in terms of our opening out to all of the other associations around the country, so that any interested applicants can make an application. Also, we'll get it out, obviously, to all the membership here in Nevada. And then there would be roughly a month that any applicant would have to apply. The application will be roughly the same application that we had in the prior search in terms of just the generic information and whatnot. There will be different written questions. In the past, what we've done, in addition to having just generic information about each of the applicants on their application, we've had them do a 500-word response to a specific question or two. So that will be prepared, and that will be part on the website where it can be accessed, and anybody interested would have until February 20th to submit that application. In the past, we've had the applications come to me as the attorney, and I've kept those and then shared them with the search committee. We'll talk about the search committee in a bit. That will be the next item that we talk about on as far as our agenda here, but we'll have an actual committee of individuals appointed to review applications. That would be done February 27th, based on the timeline we've put together. We would then whittle that down to whatever number of individuals we felt appropriate for interview. And those individuals would have reference checks made at that time. And then by March 5th, we would have the final determination as to applicants that would actually go to the board for approval for interview. And we would announce those individuals at the March, the spring board meeting, which will be here in Las Vegas, correct? We have that written right now as March 21st. It's my understanding on our winter board meeting, we have an agenda item to change the date based on a conflict. So we would propose that date be changed to March 20th, one day prior, because that's a common date, whether the board approves the change of the meeting next week or not. So roughly March 20th would be when the finalists are announced. And then within a couple of weeks, we would have another special board meeting. Haven't determined where the location would be, but that would be for the actual interviews and selection of the executive director. The reason we've kind of squeezed this is a very similar timeline to what we had in our last search. It's fairly compact as far as, you know, a search of this nature, but it worked fine last time in terms of meeting deadlines and getting these things done. And what it would allow is whoever is selected as the next executive director would then have roughly all of April, May, and June to work with Donnie in his last 3 months to acclimate into the position, which we feel is important. So that's what we're looking at here in terms of a timeline. As far as qualifications, we've set out in the announcement that would be going forward the actual qualifications, and that's you don't have that in front of you, but that's a document we will make available at the upcoming board meeting. And these are the same qualifications that we've had in the past. First of all, it would be a master's degree in education administration or the equivalent from an accredited college or university, or 15 years of experience in a state high school athletic association. Secondly, effective communication, collaboration, and interpersonal skills. Number 3, excellent verbal, written, computer, and presentation skills. 4, demonstrated ability to work effectively with school and administrative personnel, peers, parents, community members, and others. Number 5 would be a demonstrated ability to in financial management. 6 would be effective skills in planning, organizing, decision-making, and coordinating activities. And 7 would be the ability to travel across the state of Nevada and nationally on a fairly regular basis, as Donnie will tell you is a big part of the job. So that's kind of my rundown. I don't know if Pam and or Rollins have anything to add to that. If they do, I'd suggest that they do that now, and then we could open this up for any questions or comments. Do you have any?
No, I don't have anything to add at this time. Rollins, do you?
No, nothing at this particular time.
I guess does anybody have any comments or questions or anything else?
Kevin McPartland, Region 4. I just had 2 questions. Number 1, just with the timeline, we see no need to change this timeline, whether it's a national search or an in-state search. That wouldn't adjust any timelines. Is that correct?
Correct. Last time, the last meeting or the last search that we had in 2022, we had a couple of additional dates built in case we didn't find or feel that we had sufficient applicants from the state of Nevada so that we could have the national search. So we've taken those dates out because we're just going to open it up on a national basis from the beginning.
Understood. Okay, thank you. And then just second, I don't know if it's part of the actual announcing of the position, but is the compensation package remaining similar to what we currently have in place, or is that being adjusted?
Yeah, what we've got that basically in the announcement. It will discuss a salary range, a range depending upon qualifications and negotiation with the board, between 120 and 150,000. You know, and it also discusses the fact that it's a PERS position. You know, also has excellent medical, dental, vision insurance, that sort of thing. So that will be, that's all in there also.
Great. Okay. No, that's all my questions. Thank you.
You bet.
Colin McNaught, Region 4. Just following up on that, Paul, the document you gave us, maybe I missed this, I'm sorry, says announce opening of position in Nevada. Should that be modified? Did you just say we're announcing it, it's national, right? Or is that what you just said?
Yeah, you know, that's an error. Sorry.
Okay.
So that would, yeah, just opening a position will just eliminate in Nevada.
Okay. And
Good
where
catch.
where
Thank
does
you,
that happen?
Colin.
No problem. Where does that happen? Like, where does the announcement go? Is there like a central place that we're putting this, or just out of curiosity?
That would be, we would put it on the NIAA website. We will put it out to the NFHS. We will put it out to the various school districts within our state. You know, and I don't know, perhaps Xavier, would NIAA, do you think that would be a good option also?
Yeah, we can. This is Xavier, Nevada Athletic Directors Association. We could definitely push it out to our native members as well. That's not a problem.
And can they assist us on a national basis?
Correct, and we can also push it out to the NIAA.
Okay, so that it'd be, you know, athletically athletic type organizations, Colin, to answer your question, you know, is because those are the individuals we're obviously looking for, and that would probably have the greatest interest in the position.
Okay, thank you. One more question, and maybe a dumb one. There is a background check, I'm assuming?
Yes.
That has to take place prior to all of the like interviews, or how does that work? Because I'm just wondering if that needs to happen at time.
When the applications come in, the screening committee will get together and review those and kind of pare them down. And the applications that are pared down to a certain number, whatever the search committee determines that to be, then the background check will be done on those so that we have that up front. And then move forward from there. And that could result in eliminating other individuals. I don't know if it will or won't, but that's when it would be done.
Right. Okay. So timeline wise, we are assuming that we would have like the final candidates on April 4th would be background check cleared and would be ready for whatever the next step. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Wade. Just one question. I came in the middle of the last, I guess, when Donnie was the interim, and then we interviewed some people, Donnie included, and we went with Donnie there. What's the decision to go national versus keeping it in the state of Nevada? I thought we had some pretty good people the last time, applicants. Can we go back to some of those applicants? Is that something that we could do? Or the decisions, you guys made the decision to go national? I'm just kind of trying to get the thought process there.
Well, those applicants are certainly able to apply again, you know, anybody in Nevada. But we just felt that it would be a good idea to put it out on a national basis also. That was just something that Pam and Rollins and I discussed. I don't know if Pam and Rollins have any thoughts on that.
Well, that's what we initially did prior to Donnie being hired with Bart Thompson. It went out nationally. And then this time we had a great core of applicants within the state of Nevada. And that's why we just interviewed the individuals from Nevada at that time, because there was a second option that once we looked at the applicants, if we felt that we needed to go towards the national search, we were going to go in that direction. But again, when the last time the interviews, we had a great core of individuals within the state of Nevada, so we stayed within Nevada.
Rollins, anything?
Yeah, and even with that great core that we had, we still only had, I think, 5 applicants at the last opening. And I think we talked about the possibility of opening up nationwide just to see what that pool would look like with additional applicants applying for the job. So I think it's the best decision. It's a wiser decision just to open up that pool to see what's out there. We do know what we have a little bit locally, statewide, with regards to the applicants from the last opening. I would hope that there would be more local applicants applying for the position, but it would be interesting to see what kind of outside influences and people that would be interested in coming to the state of Nevada.
And I'll add just one last thing, Wade, just to, the search committee will be deciding who's interviewed. And so that committee's got a lot of responsibility from that standpoint, and they may decide, hey, just Nevada applicants, we don't know. But this way, we'll be able to see everything that's out there, or everyone who's out there that has any type of an interest. And, and then that committee will be responsible for whittling that down.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Wade.
Any other questions or discussions?
Linda's got some.
Ms. Cavazos? You're on mute, Linda.
Okay, sorry. Just random question here. Paul, I assume that he would be the point of contact that once the announcement is made, if there are any media inquiries, because I always get all kinds of crazy questions. So would Paul be the point of contact for any of the media questions?
I assume, all applications will come to me. We decided that a couple of searches ago, that it's better just for it to come to me as the attorney. I'm not a voting member of the search committee or whatever, but I kind of, would monitor all the information, and be able to guide the committee in that way. So, I mean, if that's what the board decides, I'm happy to do that. If they feel somebody else should handle that, I'm happy to have somebody else handle that. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, I think I worded that incorrectly, Paul. I wasn't talking about as far as the applicants contacting me. I was talking about, like the Las Vegas Sun or the RJ, or the Current, or somebody comes out and says, hey, about this director's position. Can we just we basically forward that to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question, Linda. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. If we don't have, if there are not any more, we need to approve the timeline. So if I can get a motion for the timeline of procedure with the modification of March 21st, changed to March 20th. And also for January 22nd, for it to read announcement opening of position, the deletion of in Nevada. So if I can get a motion.
This is Wade Polson. I move to approve the timeline that has been presented with the changes that have been discussed.
And I'll second it, but I'd also like to add all dates are subject to change based on anything that comes up.
Yeah, I think that's understood. If something major were to come into play that might disrupt the process, we'd probably have to do that.
We're good with that?
Do we need to modify the motion then, Wade?
I don't think so, because I said with any changes that are discussed. So I think that covers the broad spectrum, that there's going to be changes.
All right.
Okay, is there any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Now let's go to number 8, the appointment of the Executive Director Search Committee. As Paul has explained, me, Rollins, and Paul have had 3 different meetings. We have selected a search committee that we believe represents the entire state, not only in the public schools, but we have also representation from the private school and the charter schools. So at this time, I'm going to announce those individuals. Those individuals have not been informed that they have been asked to be on the search committee, and we'll reach out to them soon, shortly after the meeting. So at this time, I would like to announce a search committee. Of course, Paul Anderson, myself, and Rollins Stallworth, to represent the Southern Nevada, Kevin McPartland, the North, Bob Levitt, the private schools, Domingo Rivera, the charter schools, David Henneman, and the superintendent, Russell Feck. So if any of you have been selected to the committee and you plan to apply, please let us know, as then we will have to find a replacement. Mr. Anderson.
Well, and I guess if any of those that are present, I know some of the members are not present at this meeting, but anybody who was just mentioned who may not want to be on the committee, if you know that now, you could let us know that too. And I guess, are there any questions?
Okay. Are there any questions or comments in regards to the committee recommendations or anything the board would like to discuss at this time?
Just a question, why not the consideration of non-board members for the selection committee? The only reason I ask is because, first of all, don't want to be on it, to be the record. So thank you for not selecting me. Kevin knows me too, so.
You're selected.
Perfect. No, too late. I already heard the list. I wasn't on it. But I'm just curious on maybe we have to pull from this group, and maybe that's like just not a really great question, but I'm just curious why that, because like I said, they're going to be most of the people on here, lots of voting members who are then going to be voting again. So it's kind of the same as the realignment conversation we've had. So I'm just curious what the thought process is there.
Actually, four of the members of the search committee are non-voting members.
Okay.
Mr. Levitt, Mr. Rivera, Mr. Henneman, and Mr. Fecht are all liaisons. The only three, I guess, Mr. McPartland, Mr. Stallworth, and Ms. Sloan would be the only ones that would be voting members of the board. We could expand it if there's an interest in doing that. We could contract it. We could eliminate certain people. We want to be fair and we want to be open as far as Ms. Sloan indicated, and representative of the whole state and all the various interests. We always talk about being a unique state, and we are. And so we're trying to get a committee together here where all the various interests of our various schools are being represented. And so we're certainly open to suggestion.
Yeah, I just wonder, we have the time, right? So maybe if there's an interest in people who want to be part of it, right? And that may be something to explore, or maybe it's not, I don't know. But I just want to make sure that, the public feels as though they have an option for more of a voice, I guess, in the decision-making process, whatever that looks like.
Well, Colin, one thing that would help to answer your question here is if there's any particular board member out there right now that would like to be on the committee that has not been selected at this particular time. We have not got a commitment from every current board member and liaison that has been selected to be on this committee. So with that being said, if there's anyone out there who would like to be on that committee and would like to have that opportunity, if one of the current selectees is not willing to participate, then we'll take that person in consideration. So at this time, the floor is definitely open for somebody on the committee, on the board, to give their name out right now.
Or we could even take it a step further, is that we can hold off in approving the appointment of the search committee. We can do that during the next NIAA Board of Control meeting, which is in a couple of weeks. So if there is interest, then those individuals can reach out to us.
This is Wade Polson. The one thing I would caution about is getting too many board members on this, because then you can't have a majority, because then it's got to be an open meeting and you got to conform to the open meeting laws. And so having 3, maybe 4 board members at tops, I think, is where you want to be, so that you don't run into those issues. And of course, Paul can expand upon that legally with the open meeting law more than I can. But I think having 3, maybe 4 board members is about right where you want to be. And I agree with what you guys have presented forth, and equal representation across the state. So I think it's a good committee selection.
Thanks, Wade.
I think my only concern is I don't see any Southern Nevada high school leaders on here, high school principals in this conversation. And so that's why, no offense, Kev. So I think, and I know, so I know that the high school principals would want to have a voice in at least this part of it. And so that's why I think we should put it out there and say people who are interested can put forth their name, right? And then I like the idea of making it, let's talk about it at the next meeting, and here's the list, and we can come up with I don't disagree that some of the board members should be on here. Thanks for clarifying the voting aspect of it. But I'm not seeing, maybe I'm missing, but I'm not seeing like a current high school principal from the South sitting on here.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'm hearing 2 things. Wade is in support of the committee, and then Collins, you would like this to be placed on hold for further consideration. And I agree with Wade that right now we have 3 voting members and we have 4 non-voting members, and those 4 individuals are the liaisons that represent various leagues throughout the state. So what is the ask here by the board? I guess that's what we need to know.
Well, my ask is that we wait, right? So, and that we put out a, just some sort of communication that like the Board of Control is seeking members for the selection committee. And we allow anyone interested to put their name forward. I don't think it messes with our timeline to wait. And I think it shows good faith to, like I said, the high school principals in the Southern Nevada, but also just the public in general, for any parents or anyone who wants to be part of this conversation, or at least have the opportunity to, right? I understand we can't have a committee of 45 people. And so then we would take this at our Board of Control meeting and decide on that selection committee based on who applied, with the understanding that we're still going to put forth our group too.
And I'll tell you this, Colin, in the many years that I've been doing this and being on search committees and this and that, it is seldom, I don't even believe we have ever taken the search committee to have members outside of the board, from either voting members or liaisons. So this would definitely be something new, but we can definitely entertain that. Like you said, we do not want the search committee to be this large, abundant number of individuals. We don't believe that we need that. And that's why the 3 of us felt that, hey, we need representation within the state of Nevada, from the public to the private to the charter school. And that's why we had selected the individuals, as well as the superintendent's office.
Yeah, this is Wade. I agree with you, Pam. I've been part of several selection committees throughout my career. Hiring people, I've hired and terminated hundreds of people over my years. But the more you get involved, the more convoluted the process becomes, and then it's harder to get things done. And then your timeline is out the window because it's harder to come to a conclusion with your timeline. And so the more people, and I don't disagree with Colin in the fact that if you want to add one person or here or there, but at the time, right now, we're looking at a crunch time to June. We got to have this done. And the longer that we kick this thing down the road, the harder it's going to be. And the more people we involve with it, it becomes more convoluted. And then we end up having our timelines get off. So I would suggest that we move forward with this so that we can get the process rolling and we can get into it and get moving on it. And if we're going to add people, then what's the number? Are we going to go to 9 people? You're going to go to 11? You're going to go to 8? You're going to go to 10? Who are you going to add? Are we going to wait and see if there's a parent or somebody out there? I just think that the process just gets really messy at that point. That's just my thoughts and feelings, my experience over 20 years of this stuff. Thanks.
And we also have to be careful that if we add another southern individual, we need a northern individual and so on and so forth. So
just before, I just want to make sure I'm clear, what building representation do we have on this committee? Current building representation.
besides the liaisons,
Like in the search committee, yeah. Which ones and what are they? So the way I understand it, I see Pahrump Valley High School and Bishop Gorman. Is that correct? Those are the 2 building level representations, or am I missing it?
Dave Hinneman is at a charter school.
Okay.
Domingo's private.
Domingo's at Gorman. Bob Levitt is retired Northern. He is their liaison in a sense. And then Kevin McPartland. I know he's not in the building, but he represents the schools.
Right. Okay.
Unless you want to switch
I
with
love
Kevin. Unless
Kevin,
you
you know
want
I
to
love
switch
you.
with Kevin.
And I don't. But I just think that, like I said, I don't hear any high schools from Washoe or any high schools from Clark County.
Well, I think you do have high schools at least represented on a broad basis with Rollins and Pam. I mean, Rollins, Washoe, Pam with Clark County. I understand maybe they're not in the building as the principal, but they have been. And I think they understand that. But again, it doesn't matter to me. I just think I agree with what Wade Polson said from the standpoint of keeping this manageable. I think we got to be careful there. But I don't have a problem if people want to add to it.
Well, I don't, Rollins Stallworth, Vice President. I don't think we definitely need to add anyone, but I do respect Colin and his decision with regards to the representation from possibly Clark County principalship. As a committee, as a board member, Colin, whether you want to serve or not, you could solve this problem by being that volunteer from Clark County that if any of the current membership that have been suggested to be on this board, you could be that person that represents the principals from Clark County.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. However, then I get to decide who goes forward and then vote on who gets it. And I don't love that. I would prefer a little bit of a broader perspective, right? So, and it feels a little rushed, right? It just feels like we have the time, right? Where we can do this, right? And so with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to table this decision until the Board of Control meeting on these January 17th. 17th? Is that right? Then to the Board of Control meeting to determine the search committee. And I would like to put out a request to anyone interested to apply at that time noting that the Board of Control will make a decision for the number that's on it and based on the applicants. So again, my motion is that I'd like to table the decision on the search committee until the Board of Control meeting and follow that up with a request sent to all members for anyone interested to be part of the search committee, noting that the Board of Control will make a decision on that at the Board of Control meeting as to the number that's on the committee and who is on the committee based on the applicants.
Okay, we have a motion by Colin. Do we have a second? Ms.
Well,
Cavazos?
this is Cavazos. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, but I had had a question or a comment, and I didn't know that Colin was going to make the motion yet. So I'd had a question and I didn't know if we could still kind of throw that in, or do we have to go ahead and wait and see if we have a second?
Before we can discuss the motion, we need a second.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I don't hear or see anyone making a second. So we're gonna have to go back. Can we discuss it this time? Any other?
Yeah, you can open discussion again.
Now, Linda, you have
Okay.
a right to
All
discussion.
right. Okay. So what I'm thinking here, and I very much get Colin's point. I understand where he's coming from. But what I'm thinking here is like what we mentioned here is that, Kevin, a member of McPartland, sorry, is, he's been a very recent high school principal. So he has a good rapport and a good relationship with the Southern principals. And Pam, you have communication with them all the time. So as I put in the chat, is I'm wondering here that instead of actually changing the people right now, is that if we utilize the people that have already been selected in their roles and we find that we are having some issues or some questions or people, asking things that, that doesn't look like they feel like they're represented by the people that we have selected, that you have selected, that then maybe we could, look at, I see that Alex, and I'm not sure if anybody else put in that, if somebody else felt that they could be a backup. But I agree that we don't want to make this unwieldy. We all have been on committees, or I know I have, where things have gotten kind of crazy. But I do also get Colin's point as far as the representation and people feeling like their voices are not being heard. My question would be is if we do throw it out there like that and ask who's interested, what if we do get a lot of people or several people that are interested, but they again do not fall into, like, say, the building level, or they don't fall into Washoe or Clark County, and then we have these people that are interested, and it's kind of going to put us right back to square one. So that's kind of what I wanted to say, that maybe that we let the process try to work.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Stop putting a lot on Pam and on Kevin.
No, I think that's a good point. I think at this juncture, we need to believe in the process, and as we go through, as was voted on earlier, that if we need to stop the process, reevaluate a couple things, we can do that.
So with that being said, in an effort to get a building level leader from Clark County, I will put my name forward as someone to be on the search committee.
Thank you.
Reluctantly, because I do feel like I'm selecting and then voting again. But if there's no appetite to put it out, then I will put myself as consideration to be on that committee. So that way, at least there is a Clark County building leader represented. No offense to Kevin.
I would just say now, and I'm going to go back to a comment that Wade made. Now we have 4 voting members, which in years past, and Wade will say the same thing. This is not uncommon that we have so many board on the search committee. But maybe now it would balance out to 4 voting members with 4 liaisons. Do we look to potentially add another liaison?
And if I could just make
And if so, where would they fall in? Because we have to be careful because of the representation.
not trying to be difficult. Sorry. I think Pam, well, we all knew that I was I'm just difficult. So I apologize. I would actually prefer no voting members, just for the record. Because I think that, you know, when we vote, just like for realignment, when we as a voting member make a decision, we're kind of already making a decision, right? Or at least like these are the 3 that we like. And so, or however many number we put forward, whatever it ends up being. And so just for the record, I hear you. I would prefer no voting members be part of this conversation until they are presented to us. But I'm putting my name out there because I want to make sure there's a building level leader from Clark County.
To add.
Any other comments? Anybody
No,
want to make a motion to?
This is
Yeah, I'll make a motion. This is Wade Colton, Region 3. I move that we move forward with the committee that's been presented to us today and allow them to go out and start the search process.
Okay, we have a first. Do we have a second?
Deanna Riddle, I'll second.
Prior to a vote, can we
Right.
clarify the names one more time?
Yeah, so the search committee, I am facilitate the search committee. I don't vote. So the search committee would be Pam, Sloan, Rollins, Stallworth, Kevin McPartland, Bob Levitt, Domingo Rivera, Dave Hinneman, and Russell Feck. Subject to all of them agreeing to be a part of that committee. And I see Domingo's here now, so hopefully you're interested, Domingo.
I'll do whatever's necessary.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we now have a first, we have a second. Any further questions or discussions? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good discussion. All right, we will go to number 9, public comment. This time provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board about any matter not on the agenda. Items raised during this portion of the agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon until the notice procedures of the open meeting law have been complied with. Should a member of the public wish to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, it is asked that the said person please complete a yellow public comment card and submit to the president prior to the opening of this item. A limit of 3 minutes per person or 5 minutes for the spokesperson of a group may be imposed. It is requested that the comments be directed to the board as a whole. Comments that are determined to be irrelevant, repetitious, offensive, inflammatory, willfully disruptive, or deemed to be personal attacks will not be permitted. There is no one here with Mr. Anderson and I. Mr. Nelson?
Thank you, President Sloan. Nobody else here left in the building. I'm checking my emails right now. Give me 1 second, making sure nothing came in during our meeting. No other emails on for me. Vice President Stallworth, you want to check real quick to just make sure? I don't see anything.
No,
I have also checked my emails. I have no communication.
Okay, thank you then, President Sloan. Yeah, I think we're clear on number 9. Thank you.
I did have an email during our discussion regarding a building administrator on the possible interview committee from one of the vice principals here in town, if that was something that was interested from the committee. And that was all that came up regarding that communications.
All right. Thank you. That's really not, as Mr. Anderson said, that's not a public comment. It's an inquiry. So. All right, hearing nothing else at this time, I want to thank everyone for their time. Great conversation, great dialogue. And officially, this meeting is adjourned at 11:03. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody, too, on behalf of, myself in this position. I appreciate all that you're doing to get this process going. Thank you.